breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Hey, warmer friendly low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you as we're going to be joined in segment number 2 by a good buddy of ours as we're chatting it up with Jon Jansen of Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, looking at what the Phillies have done here in the second half of the season, his thoughts on the moves that they made at the trade deadline last week, the hierarchy of the National League, and a little bit on this very, very janky American League that we've got as well. In the final segment, I'm going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at Junit_81. Keep in mind, Larry M. Maybe does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, boy, did we have a fun day of baseball on Wednesday. Let's take a look back at it, try to find some trends, and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
It's a very overwhelming day in baseball, and the Yankees, they finally busted out with their offense. 10-5, they're able to take down the Seattle Mariners for Bryce Miller gives up 5 runs over the course of 6 innings, including a home run to Trent Grisham, his 14th home run season. Grisham a little bit later on off of Nick DeVale. He would get his 15th home run season. DeVale gives up 2 runs in his inning work. Gabe Speier, 3 runs allowed in 2/3 of an inning. Seranthony Dominguez and out of the bullpen scoreless, and Will Warren was brutal in this one. 5 runs allowed over the course of 4 innings. Gives up 3 bombs. Randy Arozarena, 16th home run season. Julio Rodriguez, his 19th. And then Dom Canzone, his 19th. But from there, Fernando Cruz was able to give you an out of the bullpen scoreless. Tim Mills, scoreless inning. Paul Blackburn, 5 out scoreless. And then Brent Hedrick, Yori De Los Santos. They were both able to give you a scoreless inning for the St. Louis Cardinals, 7-1. They're able to take down the Philadelphia Phillies as Kyle Leahy, he gives up 1 run over the course of 5 innings. From there, Justin Brule, Gordon Gaseffo combined for 3 scoreless innings, and Luis Castillo scoreless innings. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler was not Whelan and was not dealing 5 runs, 4 of which were earned. Give it up in his 5 innings of work. Brooks Raley does not go off the Rayleys for a scoreless inning, but Jose Alvarado, 2 runs allowed in a 1/3 of an inning. Chase Sugared, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless, but too little too late from there. The Rockies, who they were 19-41 on the road about 48 or so hours ago. Back-to-back road wins, 6-4. They take down the Arizona Diamondbacks. Merrill Kelly gives up 6 runs in 5 innings, and he was taken deep in this one by Brent Sullivan, his 6th home run of the campaign, and then it was home run number 1 of the season, and I believe the career of Zach Veen, so congratulations to him. From there, Gerard Carrillo, 2 shutout innings. Philip Abner and Braden Garcia were both able to give you a scoreless inning. From there, Ryan Feldner, he, for the Rockies, gives up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings. Juan Mejia, a run given up in a 1/3 of an inning. Brendan Bernardino gives up a run in an inning, that being a solo home run to Corbin Carroll, 18th home run season, but Parker Molshinsky, pair of outside the bullpen scorers, Jordan Romano, Jimmy Harrigan, they're both able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Wizard of Oz, he continues to be the least profitable pitcher in all baseball. Gives up 5 runs in 3 innings for the Orioles, and the Orioles fall by a count of 7-5. He actually finally got some run support at Zebby Matthews. 4 runs allowed in 5 innings. Was cranked deep in this one by Dylan Beavers, 3rd home run season, and then Leody Taveras off of Yandres Gomez, 7th home run of the campaign. Gomez gives up that home run in his inning work, but you did have Andrew Morris, Jeff Hoffman, AJ Minter all end a scoreless inning, and then you had Cam Sanders on the flip side for the Orioles. Give up 2 runs in 1 1/3 innings. Yarmir Hidalgo, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Alex Hoppe and Albert Suarez, they were both able to supply a scoreless inning. The Athletics just continue to be absolutely awful. They were once 38-38, and now they have gone 9-36 in their last 45 games, 8-4. The Rays get the job done. For Drew Rasmussen, 2 runs allowed over the course of 5 innings. Steven Matz, Casey Lugumina both give you a scoreless inning. Michael Grove gives up a pair of solo runs. Lawrence Butler, his 9th of the campaign. Zach Aloff, his 13th. And for Jack Perkins, 7 runs, 6 of which weren't. Give it up in 5 innings, including a home run to Liam Hicks, 16th home run season. Drew Rom, along with Seth Johnson, both give you a scoreless inning. Hayden Junger gives up a run in an inning, and Scott Blewett, he did not live up to his name. He did not blow it. He did not give up a single run in his inning work, but damage by then had been done, and there was not a lot of damage in this game, but just enough for the Astros to get it done. 2-1. They're able to take down the San Francisco Giants. As for Tatsuya Amai, he was actually the bulk guy in this game. 3 scoreless innings. Brian King in the first inning allowed a run in 2/3 of an inning. Everyone else was spotless. Anya de los Santos and out of the bullpen scoreless. AJ Bluebow, 5 outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Stephen Okert, 4 out squirrels. Brian DeBreu, Josh Hader, they both give you a scoreless inning. Adrian Hauser was really good in his start too. 6 shutout innings. Sam Antiges from there gives up an unearned run in a third of an inning. Victor Barracoto had an error in the field that hurt him. From there, Keaton Wynn gives up a run in 1 2/3 innings. Javier St. Martin, a scoreless inning, but not a lot doing at the plate for them. Not a lot doing at the plate for the Brewers. 4-3, the Slam Diego Padres slammed them. Robbie Ray was more like Robbie Boo, 2 runs allowed in 4 innings, and he was taken deep by Gary Sanchez, his 10th home run of the campaign. But from there, Bradley Rodriguez, 2 shutout innings. Jeremiah Estrada, Kyle Hart, Mason Miller, all lend a scoreless inning. Audrey Morejon, he goes for the 9th and 10th innings with an unearned run, and Dustin May, he gives up a run over the course of 7 innings, and Xander Bogaerts takes him deep, 10th home run of the campaign. Chad Patrick gives up a run in 2/3 inning. Aaron Ashby, pair of outs out of the bullpen squirrels. Trevor McGill, 1 2/3 inning squirrels, and then Antonio Senzatella in the 11th inning as this game went to extras. 2 runs, one of which was earned, and he would give up both in the 11th as Luis Campusano, RBI single, that is able to end the game right there. And being able to just continue the demise of the Boston Red Sox, the Toronto Blue Jays, 6-4, they take down the Red Sox, who have now lost, shockingly, I believe, 5 straight games after they had been 27-3 in their last 30. Ranger Suarez was good in this start. 1 run allowed in 5 innings. Justin Slayton, Eric Miller, they both give you a scoreless inning, and then Teran Guerrero. 5 runs, 4 of which were earned, does not get a single out. Alec Gamboa was able to get a scoreless inning from there, but damage had been done. Jose Soriano, he gives up a home run in 6 innings of work as it was Wilson Contreras getting his 24th home run season. Matt Waldron did give up 3 runs in the third of an inning, but Louis Varland, pair of outs out of the bullpen to get a save. Mason Fluharty and Tyler Rogers, they were both able to give you a scoreless inning. The Cubs and the Nationals are the top 2 scoring teams in all baseball, and they played a slugfest, 12-6. Cubs get the job done. David Peterson, great name, not a great start. 4 runs, 3 of which were earned, but good enough to get the win, as Javier Assad from there gives up 2 home runs in 4 innings of work. Jose Tena is 6th home run of the campaign, and it was home run number 3 of the young career of the pinch hitter in this game, Mr. Albeck Ortiz, and on the flip side for the Washington Nationals, it was the MLB debut of one Mr. Jackson Kent. Gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings, and the bullpen did him no favors. Trevor Williams gives up 3 runs over the course of 3 innings, including a pair of bombs. Giovanni Cruz, 1 out of the bullpen, he gives up 2 runs, including a home run. Tom Cosgrove, 3 runs, 1 of which was earned in a third of an inning. Jake Bird gives a bird with giving up a solo home run, as going deep 3 times, Alex Bregman, who has had a disappointing season, but did not disappoint on this day. His 14th, 15th, and 16th home runs of the season, and then Dansby Swanson. He's able to get home run number 18 of the campaign, being able to get this one in. The Chicago White Sox, 5-0. They blanked the Reds, as for Cincinnati, they were on to Rhett Lauder, giving up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings, including a home run to Mr. Drew Romo, his 6th home run of the campaign. Chase Meadroth, a little bit later on, off of Julian Garcia, gets his 12th home run season. Garcia gives up that home run in 2/3 of an inning of work. Sam Mull, a scoreless inning of Ron Marinaccio, he gives up 2 runs in his inning of work. And Luis Castillo, 1 hit allowed in 7 shutout innings, punches out 10. That's vintage Luis Castillo. From there, Oscar Brisbane, a scoreless inning, and Egan Smith, he was able to come in for a scoreless inning as well. And for the Atlanta Braves, they cool down the all of a sudden hot Mets. This by a count of 6-3. As for the Metropolitans, this was not what they were looking for out of Zach Thornton. 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings, and was taken deep by Lane Thomas, his 11th home run of the campaign. A little bit later on, you'd have Mikey Yastrzemski get his 9th home run of the season, and Austin Riley his 15th home run season, as those both come off of Daniil Nunez, who gives up 3 runs in a third of an inning. Jeffrey Yan, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless, and great name, Mr. Weisenberger, Jack Weisenberger, a scoreless inning, but damage had been done. And Tyler Mahle, 2 starts for the Braves, pretty darn good in both of them. Does give up a home run to Louis Torrens, 5th home run season, but gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. From there, the Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, gives up a solo home run, as that was home run number 6 of the season for Luis Robert. Boba Schick gets a solo home run of his own off of Horacio Iglesias. For Iglesias, gives up that solo home run in his inning work, and then Dylan Lee was able to give you a scoreless inning of his own. For the Miami Marlins, they get an 8-2 win over the Pirates, who have the worst record in the National League since the All-Star break. Carmen Molzinski, not long for this game. 4 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings. The former Marlin, Lake Bucar, he gives up 3 runs in 3 innings, including a pair of home runs. Griffin Conine, 13th home run season. Roberto Hernandez, his 17th. Evan Sisk from there, he gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Kirby Yates, Camilo Doval, they both give you a scoreless inning. Meanwhile, for Miami, Jansen Junk was not junk. 2 runs, 1 of which was earned in 6 innings, and then Tyler Zuber, Calvin Fauché, and Victor Vodnik, they're all able to turn a scoreless inning. For the Guardians, they're able to take this one from the Detroit Tigers. This by a count of 6-4, as for the Tigers, they have been pretty solid with their bullpen throughout the season, but it did let them down in this one. They didn't necessarily get the start that they wanted out of Framber Valdez either. 4 runs allowed in 5 1/3 innings. he was taken deep by Mr. Joe Adell, fired to the rain for his 18th home run season. From there, time in, a run given up in 2/3 of an inning. Emmanuel De Jesus gives up a run in an inning. Tanner Rainey, yes, that Tanner Rainey, 1 2/3 innings scoreless, and he did have Gleyber Torres go deep off of Foster Griffin, 8th home run of the campaign. Griffin gives up 3 runs, only one of which was earned over the course of 5 innings. Jose Ramirez hurt him with an error out there in the field, but Colin Olderman, Eric Zabrowski, they combined for 2 shutout innings. Hunter Gaddis, pair of outs out of the bullpen, he gives up a run, and then Cade Smith, 4 outs scoreless of his own to get the save. For the Dodgers, ding dong, the witch is dead. For the first time since the Treek Skubal trade, they covered a run line. 4-2, they take down the Kansas City Royals. Daniel Lynch not long for this game. 3 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings, cranked deep by Mookie Betts, 15th home run season, and Joey Ohtani, 27th, and then Hunter Fiducia, he would get his 3rd home run season off of Mason Black. Gives up 1 run in 3 innings, and Jose Cuas was able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Craig Kimbrell with his 500th team was able to give you a scoreless inning, yay, verily. And then on the flip side of things, Eric Lauer, 6 1/3 innings, he gives up 2 runs, 1 of which was earned. And then the Knack, Landon Knack, 2 2/3 innings scoreless. And for the LA Angels, it has been a rough go of it for them on offense recently, but they got runs up on the board on Wednesday, and they do get the job done. This by a count of 5-2. As for the Halos, you had a nice start out of one, Mr. George Clausen, 2 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Corey Seager does get his 12th home run of the campaign, but from there, Ryan Watson was able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Blake Wyman, 4 outs scoreless, and then Ben Joyce cleans up the 9th inning. Meanwhile, Cal Quantrill, nice start, 1 run allowed over the course of 5 innings. Robbie Alstrom, though, 3 runs allowed in a 1/3 of an inning. Peyton Gray, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Cole Winn, a scoreless inning, and the Peoples, Ben Peoples, he gives up a run in his inning of work. And if you're taking a look at what we're getting in baseball right now with regards to the trends, it has become very much an underwhelming season, as the under rate, it gave back a little bit yesterday, but it's right around about 50.8%, 870 overs, 898 unders, and I believe we're now up to something like 36 or so pushes. And then favorites on the money line, they're in at about 56.2%, 991 and 773. And among those favorites, we have now seen 249 fail to cover the run line. Last 30 days, favorites are hitting at about 56%, 204 and 158. But among those favorites, 65 failed to cover the run line. The over rate is in the neighborhood of about 45.5%, 163 overs, 197 unders, and a double-digit amount of pushes along the way. And over the last 7 days, the overs are finally starting to gain a little bit of footing. You've had 47 overs, 44 unders, and 5 pushes along the way. Meanwhile, favorites on the money line hitting only at about 53%, 49 and 44, with 16 of those favorites not covering the run line. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're getting trend-wise. Coming next, let's chat it up with our good friend Jon Jansen of Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the Beats and Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
We're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Beats and Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Jon Jansen aboard, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, the Gambler, taking a look at a wide variety of things, as I know that he's very much getting set for Eagle season. Lots of buzz involving that team called the 76ers right now as well, with everything that happened in the offseason there. Obviously, Phillies baseball's at a fever pitch as well, so he's doing such a great job on so many different fronts. You're able to find him on Twitter/X at JJansen34 all together. And John, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. A lot of buzz, the anticipation of the Eagles season, the anticipation of LeBron, and then here come the frustrating Phillies, who have been not great out of the All-Star break.
Yep, it has been a little bit shaky for them. And how did you take a look at the way that they maneuvered at the trade deadline? Because we haven't talked to you since then. They picked up a few pieces with Caleb Killian along with Brooks Raley for the bullpen. And then the major piece that they got was Luis Arias to be able to help move the line, get on base a little bit more. But as I think that you'll bring up here in a second, did leave the defense a little bit liable as well.
Yeah, it really did. And I think Brooks Raley and Luis Arias specifically, really good pickups. They're taking advantage, too, of just Luis Arias with the contact hitter that he is. Doesn't walk a lot, doesn't strike out a lot, but he's going to hit and he's going to put the ball in play. So they've been putting him in cleanup. Obviously, he's been going through a bit of a slump, finally broke out of it in the final game against the Cardinals series, in which they lost, though. But yeah, I really liked the pickups. But it just felt like this team needed so much, and obviously they weren't going to get all of it. Would have liked another outfielder. You would have liked maybe a right-handed power bat, and they were not able to get any of that. You maybe some starting pitching help too, just because the two spots in your starting rotation aren't good enough. Maybe high-end bullpen arms, even though Brooks Raley I really like. Maybe a high-end bullpen arm would have been a lot better too, knowing that Jose Alvarado hasn't been pitching well. And really, it's just Duran and the back end of the bullpen and nobody else. It's just they need a lot more, but that's kind of the problem you run into when you're a team that's desperate to make the playoffs, desperate to really finish off whatever this core has left with the Phillies. It's just you're trying to get as much as you can, but it's just you have so many holes that I don't know if you can fill it. I think that's kind of the problem they ran into at the trade deadline.
Yep, I don't think that there's any question that they did their best to be able to make the most out of it, but it is a case where you still have some issues with this team. And when it comes to the hierarchy of the National League, where do you place them? Because I would be feeling a little bit more bearish if it weren't for the fact that the Milwaukee Brewers, I felt like they need to do more at the trade deadline. They needed a bat. Dustin May is nice, but the Dodgers get Tariq Skubal. That makes them the big bad wolf out there. And the Chicago Cubs, I thought that they actually had a really nice trade deadline as well.
Yeah, Chicago Cubs did, and I was there in Wrigley a couple weekends ago, or it was during the Yankees and Dodgers series. I was at a couple of those games. That team feels ready for playoff baseball. They did a good job at the trade deadline, but also it's just they have the lineup to do it, and it's an ascending lineup. It's a lineup that feels like it's getting better the more comfortable it gets as the season goes on. You're getting more better at bats from Alex Bregman. PCA is now a favorite as of this moment for the National League MVP. So you just have this like top end great talent that is ascending, but like it's just the lineup all over the place is great. Meanwhile, the Phillies, like it just feels like a descending lineup. Alec Boehm is getting worse. JT Realmuto just seems to be getting worse. You get some good play out of Justin Crawford and Bryson Stott, who have been really good for them. And it's good to see Bryson Stott. He seems like he's becoming one of the more reliable second basemen in all of baseball. So I think he's going to end up finding himself a deal with the Phillies at some point soon, or at least he would hope so. I think with the Phillies, because there's so many holes, I think they're going to be fighting for a wild card spot. Like, where do you place them? I don't place them anywhere near the Cubs at this point. Even then, I don't know if I'd place them with the Padres, where it just seems like there is so much there to work with. It's just it all needs to come together. And of course, I don't feel like they're anywhere close to whatever the Braves, Brewers, and Dodgers are. Obviously, there's a hierarchy with those top three teams, and I think I'm starting to include the Cubs with those top three teams that are leading their divisions in the National League. But the Phillies, who we once thought like could be that team, a contending team to maybe put their hat in the ring to maybe beat the Dodgers, it just doesn't seem like they're anywhere close to that team and very much a shell of themselves of what they have been in previous years.
Yep, and it is going to be interesting to see how that looks moving forward. As joining me on the show, we've got Jon Jansen, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And John, when it comes to what we're going to be seeing on Thursday, it's a Field of Dreams game, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me on this. The Phillies would love to see Aaron Nola be in a little bit of better form. He's going against Taj Bradley, and it's a pick'em game on the betting line and a total of 8.5 out there in the great state of Iowa. How do you take a look at this? Because this could be a good spot for Aaron Nola to be able to get things right, but man, it just has been so rough that I think it's hard to have any confidence in him whatsoever.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll reference another movie. There's going to need to be angels in the outfield because, man, he just gives up the long ball. If he had some angels to maybe catch some of those long balls from becoming home runs, that'd be great. But at the moment, it just seems like Aaron Nola's cooked. It gives up way too much good contact, and also he's just giving up way too many home runs. I feel like he's been better, and I hate to say this because he's not been great, but I feel like he's been better as of late. He's not completely giving up back-breaking runs or, explosive innings. It just seems like he's kind of doing a lot of damage control, and it seems to be working for him. Problem is he still gives up a bunch of runs, and he's not going long into starts, which is the biggest issue because they don't have a deep bullpen. And the bullpen's been really taxed. And Don Mattingly, I don't think, handles the bullpen well. So he ends up, I think, using some of his pieces a little bit too much. But yeah, I think with Nola, you run into a couple of issues. Either A, he's going to give up too many runs, or B, he's going to use so many pitches to try and do some damage control. And in doing so, he goes out early. and then gives up to a bullpen that just can't hold leads. So you're kind of at like a catch-22 with Nola at this point. They haven't won very many of his games. He didn't win a single game in the month of July. Finally was at least able to pitch in a win, but didn't get a decision in that one. But still, it's been a rough go for Aaron Nola, who has not got an actual decision for a win since May 26th against the San Diego Padres. So yeah, again, it's getting somewhat better. His ERA in the month of July and even to start August isn't so bad. But again, it's mostly because he's going short, and in going short, you end up giving to a bullpen that just doesn't do all that well.
Yeah, with the bullpen, it has been pretty rough for them, as Yohan Duran has overall been pretty consistent for this team, aside from a few hiccups, but past that, it's been very, very shaky to say the least. And when you do take a look at the hierarchy of the National League, just how are you taking a look at things right now? Because I think it's very clear that the Braves have been able to separate themselves out there in the East with that NL Central. I think that's very interesting right now with the Brewers and the Cubs and then the Dodgers. I know that they haven't necessarily been the greatest over the last week and a half. They're still going to be there when it's all said and done. So I think that it makes it so interesting.
Yeah, I think the Dodgers are just going through a bit of a rough patch, but they've done this in previous seasons and in World Series winning seasons. It just happens. It's a long season. These guys are used to winning a lot of baseball games, and in baseball, we know it's going to happen where they're not playing their best. But for the most part, like, I still absolutely love the Dodgers. It's good to see the Braves kind of figure themselves out again. At one point, it seemed like the Phillies are going to start to catch up to them, but man, that lineup has just done extremely well. Matt Olson, Michael Harris, Drake Baldwin at times, Ronald Acuna Jr. at times. Like, it just seems to be getting a little bit better. Obviously, most of those guys had like down years or hurt, so they're getting healthier, they're getting better, and it's also good to love the starting pitching as well, especially with Chris Sale leading the way. So just a lot of pieces to like, but it just seems like even with the way the things are going right now, the Dodgers just seem like the team to beat. But the team that I have my eye on the most, I don't know if they're going to be able to catch the Brewers, because still 4 games back with about 35, 40 games to go. I think around 40 games to go. It's still going to be a lot to catch up to the Brewers. But the Cubs can slug their way into it, and I feel like they are. That just seems to me to be the team that's, again, I've used the word ascending. That's what it feels like. It just feels like the team on the rise and a really dangerous team to want to play. Now that they've figured out some of their starting pitching has gotten healthier. It's just that lineup can compete with anyone. And so even though the Dodgers bolster up their starting rotation with Tariq Skubal, who's to say the Cubs can't hit them and can't find ways to win like they did in that series and against Skubal? I'm really bullish right now on the Cubs.
Yep, I'm liking what I'm seeing out of them as well. And then we've talked all about the National League. How about if we touch a little bit on the American League, as it's been very interesting, to say the least, out there. The Rays, they still have the best record out there in the American League. The Red Sox have been the hottest team, but they've been cooling down. And how do you just take a look at that hodgepodge where I feel like almost any team that gets into the playoffs in the American League has a puncher's chance to be able to make the World Series?
Yeah, it sort of does. And we're going to keep doing this with the Rays until they can prove us wrong, because we have known the Rays to be really good in previous years, but it's just every time they get to the postseason, you can tell it's a team that really good in the regular season, can piece a lot of things together, especially with their starting rotation. They used to use openers a lot. They would be able to find ways to win in multiple ways in the lineup, because it wasn't the team always with the most power, but they could just manufacture a bunch of runs. It was just a team that could grind out 162 games way better than anybody else could in Major League Baseball. And maybe they could be doing this again, but it is hard to ignore just how much this team is winning. And if it was any other team doing this, we would probably be declaring them the winner of whatever league that they're in. This team is just bludgeoning people. And it's not just bludgeoning on the scoreboard. It's not that. And what I mean by that, it's just they're consistently winning games and winning series and sweeping teams. And the good thing I think with them now is what they maybe not have had is they have a guy like Junior Caminero, who's like the answer to this. Well, the Rays are good, but they don't have like an elite talent or somebody that can really carry them. I think they do in Junior Caminero, and I think he's an excellent player. They have some pieces now getting Freddie Peralta. I know he hasn't been having the best season with the Mets, and the ERA is up there, but at least that's a talent I think could put something together, because we've known him to be so good in the past that if they're able to get something out of Freddie Peralta and at least what he's been with the Brewers, that's a pitcher that I really love for them to get, that they have gotten, and to use in the playoffs. I just think with the American League, it seems wide open, and the answers or the questions we have about the Rays are legitimate, but it's hard to ignore just how much that they've been dominating. And maybe we should be taking that into account a little bit more as we're talking about the American League.
Yep, no question about it. I've been really loving what I've been seeing out of Junior Caminero. He and Yordan Alvarez have been the MVPs of the American League. There's no question about it. And I think we've got ourselves a lot that we are going to be diving in on here in the coming weeks and coming months, because this baseball landscape is wild and crazy. I know you're taking a look at that. You're getting set for football and so much more. So, John, let the good people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, you can follow me at JJansen34. Got a lot of stuff getting ready to go for the football season. Villanova's first game, which we are Villanova partners over at Fox Sports Radio Philadelphia. The first game is the 28th of August. So we are getting very, very close to the start of the FCS season and just the start of the football season in general. So all of it you can find again at JJansen34.
And John is doing such a great job looking at baseball, football, and so much more. And every single time he joins me on such great insights. So big thanks to John for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Coming next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis of every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to be joined by our guy, Jon Jansen, who does such great work over at Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler. Taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and he did so once again today. So big thanks to John for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Thursday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_81, and we're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first in time order, then the American League games also in time order. Any interleague games, those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So let's get things started. This is 901, 902 on the card. It is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They walk the plank to Miami to face off against the Marlins, as it is going to be one Mr. Braxton Ashcraft, hoping to not be a load of Ashcraft for the team, and then Tyler Phillips goes for the fish. And with the Marlins, you're finding them as a very slim underdog here, between plus 104 to plus 110, minus 120 to minus 126 for Pittsburgh. 8 is the total. Over and under are both at minus 110, and I'm going to take a shot here on the Marlins. I did set them here at a plus 106. Mainly because for Braxton Ashcraft, he has fallen down the toilet bowl and he has been a little bit of a load of Ashcraft recently. I still love his overall upside. He's still been able to do a nice job with his swing and miss stuff, but now he's up to about a 4.08 ERA. He's given up 4+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. 364 fielding independence still. I got 9.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, so hasn't necessarily been too bad there. And you take a look at where a lot of these struggles have come from for Braxton Ashcraft with regards to his home and road splits. On the road, he has been giving up well over 1.7 home runs per 9 innings, and the ERA goes above 4.25. Meanwhile, for Tyler Phillips, 3.47 ERA, that's probably going to be doing for some regression. A 4.60 fielding independent, only getting 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. But boy, oh boy, you want to talk about night and day home and road splits difference. At home, this is a man that is right now supplying a 1.68 ERA. At home, he's given up less than 0.7 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, he is giving up pretty much like 1.8 home runs per 9 innings and a 5.90 ERA. Now, for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it still has been one of the best offenses in all of baseball. Hasn't quite been the same ever since the All-Star break, but you look at the overall season numbers, still third in the league in terms of run creation, even with O'Neal Cruz still dealing with that injury. They've been able to get a lot of production out of Brandon Lau. He's been able to get loud. He's been able to give you 24+ home runs, and additionally, you've got a guy like a Jake Magnum who's been able to hit a 300. You've been able to have Nick Gonzalez do a nice job, move a line, getting on base. You're getting back Spencer Horwitz, who's got over a 370 on base, along with Mr. Reynolds. Esmeralda and Valdez starting to regress a little bit, but still home run every 12 or so at bats, 350 plus on base. And then on the flip side for the Miami Marlins, the name of the game for them is stealing bases. Jacob Marcy, Xavier Edwards, Otto Lopez, along with Esteri Ruiz, all with at least 18 stolen bases. Now, only one guy in the starting lineup yesterday had more than 12 home runs for the season. That'd be Alberto Hernandez with 16, because they do trade away Liam Hicks at the trade deadline. But Joe Mack has been actually pretty solid in terms of hitting home runs, not doing such a great job in terms of getting on base. And they are dealing with the injury to Kyle Stowers. Bullpen has been a little bit shaky for the Marlins. Marlins recently as well. Anthony Bender and Andrew Nardi being on the injury list has certainly hurt them, but you've been able to get good production on Michael Peterson, great name, Josh Eknes, John King. These are guys give you a sub 350 ERA, and even though the Pirates, they do pick up a lot of pieces at the trade deadline, the one that I by far like the most is Luke Weaver. They pick up Kirby Yates as well. They still have been a team that's been in the bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Gregory Soto and Camilo Duvall are guys I just really don't trust in. They both have ERAs above a 3.25, so do think they get some runs here. Like the over, some I tell it at 8.2, and for the Marlins at plus 107 or better, like that money line. 903, 904 on the card. It is the Cubs, and they are going to be on the road against the Washington Nationals, as it is Mr. Kevin Gausman who's going to be on the bump for the Cubs, and Kay Cavalli goes for the Nationals, and the Nationals, they do find themselves as a pretty good-sized underdog here, as you're going to be catching them between plus 113 to a plus 122. Meanwhile, between minus 130 to minus 140 is that number on the Cubs. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 110 to minus 120. The under is between even and minus 110. And at a plus 120 or better, I am going to be in on the Nationals. I know that they're dealing with injury, as they're without James Wood, who's been able to give you 30-plus home runs. But C.J. Abrams entering into yesterday, 29 home runs, and I believe they leads the National League in total home runs ever since the All-Star break as well. And Kevin Gausman is just not impressing me right now. He had a good first start with the Chicago Cubs, but still, you take a look at what he's done overall for the season, and he's got a fielding independent lower than his ERA, which has been the case for him for, it feels like, many, many years, but still about a 4.29 ERA, 3.53 fielding independent, giving up only about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but it's really been, we're going to call it mid to late June, is where things really started to fall off, because he was having a really nice start to the season, then he gives up a big giant 6 spot in a game against the Texas Rangers, and in his last 8 starts, the teams that he has pitched for are 2-6 respectively, and he's been posting up a 4.76 ERA. Meanwhile, on the other end for Kay Cavalli, maybe he's not necessarily the world's greatest with regards to command, but he's been able to lower the walks a little bit down to about 2.7 walks per 9 innings, 9.9 strikeouts per 9, 3.57 ERA, 3.59 fielding independent. Now, if you do have some trepidation here, it is the fact that this has been a bullpen for the Washington Nationals that has been in the bottom 2 in the National League in terms of ERA, but still, you're getting back Brad Lord. That's a very good, reliable long guy for this team. Orlando Robaltic, Clayton Beater. These have been guys who have been able to give you a sub-4 ERA, so they've been able to do a solid job with that regard. You're still going to need more out of some of these guys like Gus Farland, Paxton Schultz. They got a lot of just dudes out there that are doing nothing whatsoever, but you take a look at the lineup, even without having James Wood in there, Dallin Lyle has been able to give you 15 home runs. Asim Nunez is giving you 40 stolen bases. He's been incredible. Jacob Young is moving line. He's up to a double-figure amount of bombs. And for the Cubs, this team is number 2 in all baseball in terms of run creation. Obviously, Peter Armstrong has been carrying the mail for the team. 27 bombs, over a 380 on base, but have a lot of guys like Michael Busch, Alex Bregman that might not be hitting for a ton of average, but they do give you over a 335 on base. Say Suzuki's up to 20 home runs. He's been solid there. Dansby Swanson still is having a little bit of a rough season. It's been a little bit better for him, but you just take a look at the bullpen injuries for this team. They picked up Ryan Zephyr on at the trade deadline, and I like Ryan Rolson, Jacob Webb. They're giving you a sub 350 ERA, but like stuff, Hobie Milner, Gavin Hollowell, Daniel Palencia, whole bunch of guys that are currently on the injury list, so that causes things to be very questionable there. In this spot, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the Nationals at a plus 120 or better, and I do think that you get some scoring. I like the over, so I tell it at 8.9, 905, 906 on the card. The Brewers are going to be on the road against the Dodgers, as Hiroki Sasaki should be the starter here for the Dodgers, but right now that's a little bit TBD. We do know that Shane Drone is going to be going for the Brewers. Right now that total is 8.5, over and under both at minus 110. Dodgers are minus 130 to minus 140 favorites, plus 115 to plus 120 is that number on the Brewers, and I'm going to be in on the Dodgers. I did set this at a minus 143. I've liked what I've seen overall out of Shane Drone. He's a guy that, for lack of a better term, he really doesn't beat himself. The swing and miss stuff is good. It's maybe not elite quite yet. Might be in a few seasons. 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 0.9 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, so that has been massive for this team, and he does come off of giving up 3+ runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. That is the issue that you're having with him. It does feel like the league is starting to figure him out a little bit, and for Hiroki Sasaki, it's been very much intermittent as far this season, but he's coming in really good form. He's given up a combined 5 earned runs, I believe 6 in total, because there was an unearned run in his last 4 starts. Overall for the season, 454 yards, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and the 1.8 home runs per 9 have really hurt him, but he does go up against a Brewers team that, despite them being a top 7 team in terms of overall run creation, They're not a team that necessarily hits the ball at the yard. They're a bottom 7 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. When it comes to Brewers, Jake Bauers has been really good for the team, as right now he's been able to supply 20 home runs. The on-base percentage is in that neighborhood about a 370, 375, and then you do have quite a few other guys moving the line like Bryce Terang, Jackson Trio. They're both at 16-plus home runs. They're both hitting above a 265. William Contreras, he's been able to give you about a 330 on base. David Hamilton up to 20-plus stolen bases there. Gary Sanchez, he's probably going to be dealing with a little bit of injury, so that's a little bit of an issue, but still, they're getting back Brandon Lockridge, who's been really good in terms of getting on base. Andrew Vaughn has been able to 300 for the Dodgers. They have been averaging a full run per game less when they've been at home rather than away from home. I do think that that's going to be ironing out sooner rather than later. You still have Shohei Ohtani, who's been incredible, giving you 26 home runs, about a 400 base, dealing with that leg injury, but might be returned to the mound soon, so that's big for them. Max Muncy, 22-plus home runs, over a 340 on base. Kyle Tucker has done a good job moving the line. Freddie Freeman hitting above a 300. He's up to 15 home runs. Andy Paz has been able to give you 19 home runs. So you've got a lot of firepower there. The Brewers do have the upper hand with the bullpen, as you've got the likes of Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill, who've been able to give you a sub-350 ERA, and then additionally been able to get some good production out of Chad Patrick as a bit of a long guy. Aaron Ashby, after he had some fumbles, I would say, in like late June, early July, he's been able to straighten out as well. And for the Dodgers, they're dealing with the injuries to the likes of Blake Trinan along with Brock and Roll Stewart. But still, you've got a lot of guys that are out there doing a great job for this team, like Tanner Scott, who's been able to give you a sub-235 ERA. Edgar Enriquez, Jack Dreher, Alex Vesia, these guys are sub-315 as well. And Edwin Diaz seems to be rounding back into form as well. So going to be able to take the Dodgers here on the money line, set them at a minus 143, and I do like this total to the over. I did set my total at an 8.7, 907, 908 on the card. It is the Cleveland Guardians on the road against the Detroit Tigers, as Carrillo Montero is on the bump for Detroit, and you've got Parker Messick going for Cleveland. Cleveland is a favorite here between minus 110 to a minus 118, minus 102 to plus 105 is that number on Detroit. 8.5 is the total. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105, and I do like the under here. I did set my total at 7.6. Parker Messick has been really good this season for the Cleveland Guardians, as he's a solid swing and miss guy. I wouldn't say that he's going to blow you away, but still 9 strike cuts per 9 innings, 0.9 home runs, 2.5 walks per 9 innings, a fielding independent that's a little bit higher than his 257 ERA, more around about a 339, but he's been as steady as she comes, and his ERA actually lowers to a 225 away from him, even though he gives up significantly more home runs, 10 home runs, give it up away from home, and he's given up 3 home runs when he's been at home with a pretty similar amount of innings. And then for Kadir Montero, it's been a case where he's just been able to induce a lot of soft contact. Right now, he's only getting about 6.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, but 1 home run, 2.1 walks per 9 innings, 338 ERA, 387 fielding independent. You do like to see that. And for the Detroit Tigers, this team has been a top 6 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st, so these guys are doing a great job in terms of rounding into form. Have to like what you've been able to get in terms of the long relievers, like a Derek Anderson, who they're probably going to be utilizing as a starter moving forward. He and Ty Madden are able to piggyback off of one another. They both have been able to do an absolutely exceptional job. You've had this team actually be much better without Will Vest. He was absolutely terrible coming out of this bullpen. Getting rid of him, and instead of having a little bit more Tyler Holden, has been very good. You've seen Kyle Finnegan regress a little bit, but still posting up a sub-350 ERA, and Kenley Jansen has not been terrible. So, yay, verily there. And for the Tigers, they're now in the upper half of the big leagues. In terms of run creation, Dylan Dingler has been a big reason why. 25-plus home runs. He's been able to hit about a 270. Then you've got Gleyber Torres back off the injury list. He's moving the line, give you a 370 on base. Kevin McGonigal, 390 on base. They've been able to get Javi Baez back as well. Not going to draw walks, but gets on base. And then Max Clark, since they called him up, he's been pretty spectacular in terms of getting on base. And the Guardians continue to be a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Now, the young guy, hopefully I get this correct, Anel Genoa, has been really good, so that helps him out. And Joydell, they pick him up. He's up to 16 home runs this season. That leads the team. Chase Salauter, Stephen Kwan, pretty much the lone 2 guys that consistently see up as they're above a 345 on base. Austin Hedges has actually been okay at the plate for Brian Rocchio. Starting to regress, and Jose Ramirez just not having a good year. For the Guardians, they continue to be in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but we've seen Eric Sabrowski now have his ERA above a 350. Craig Yoho has been terrible for the team, but likes of Colin Holderman, Kate Smith, Hunter Gaddis, sub-325 ERAs out of them. So, interesting circumstance here. Plus 112 or better does put me in on the Detroit Tigers if we can get down to a minus 110. Looking at the Guardians right now, I am seeing a minus 110. So, looking at the Guardians, that's subject to a little bit of change. I'm going to see how this matures overnight, but looking like I'll probably be in on the Guardians if I can get that minus 110 that I'm so much desiring. And with regards to that total, I'm going to be in on the under semi-total 7.6. 909, 910 on the card. The Mariners are going to be on the road against the New York Yankees, as Mad Max Fried is on the bump for the Yankees, and Mr. Logan Gilbert goes for Seattle. Seattle is a plus 125 to a plus 135 underdog. Meanwhile, with the Yankees, minus 145 to minus 155 there. 8 is the total. Under is minus 115. Over is minus 105, and I'm going to be in on the under. Semi-total at a 7.7. In the last 39 games for the Yankees going into yesterday, averaging about 3.4 runs per game, and it's not like it's been too much of a better year for the Seattle Mariners. They entered in the day yesterday having been dead stinking last in the big leagues in terms of run creation with just under 3.9 runs per game. And for Fried, while he's not been really blowing away guys between 7.5 to 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, he's been down with that regard. He's doing an absolutely incredible job in terms of inducing soft contact. For Max Fried, he has given up, get this, a 1 home run in 81 and a third innings, only about 2.8 walks per 9 innings since coming off the injury list. He has allowed 3 earned runs or fewer in every one of his starts, 4 runs in total in those 4 starts. And on the flip side of things, you do have a guy in Logan Gilbert who has actually been very sensational when he's been away from home thus far this season. A 3.42 ERA overall with a 3.57 fielding dependent, 9.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, 1.2 home runs, 2.1 walks per 9 innings. But you look at what he's been able to do when he has been away from Seattle, that goes down to a 2.50, and he's given up 1 home run in 54 innings as well. Now for the Yankees, they do bring in a few reinforcements. Luis Garcia has been able to do a pretty solid job. He overall for the season, 20 plus home runs. Going back to his time with the Nationals, obviously Ben Rice has been your main man. He's been doing a nice job, giving you 30 plus home runs, over 350 on base, but Paul Goldschmidt is absolutely toilet bowled for this team. You're not getting a lot out of these just mix and match infielders, including the catcher spot. Ryan McMahon, Josh Chisholm, both hitting below a 215. You've got Trent Grisham, who's done nothing whatsoever. George Lombard in a small sample size has been solid, but that's less than 30 at bats. Need a little bit more to believe in that for the Seattle Mariners. Lots of guys between 14 to 18 home runs. Colt Young, Julio Rodriguez, Tom Canzone, Randy Arozarena, all there in Arozarena, about a 370 on base. They are getting back Brendan Donovan. That's going to be able to help you out. But Cal Raleigh hitting less than a $170 with 12 home runs and over 300 bats. That's just not acceptable. Colt Emerson hitting below the mid-outside 200. And for the Mariners, while they are a top 10 team in terms of bullpen area, still dealing with some injuries. Gabe Spire, I think he's dealing with that suspension now, so that's something that you want to be monitoring. Jose Ferrer, seeing his ERA go above a 3. Edward Bizardo has been relatively solid, but I'm not a believer in Serenity Dominguez. And for the New York Yankees, this team is second in the big leagues in terms of bullpen area. These guys like David Bennar, Paul Blackburn, Brent Hedrick, they've been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Fernando Cruz has been relatively solid as well, so makes it an interesting circumstance because I do like the under here. Semi-total 7.7. For the Yankees, I did set them here more around a minus 133. I do think that getting plus 135 plus in a low-scoring game with Logan Gilbert on the road is advantageous. So, going to be willing to take a shot on the M's on the money line, and I do like this total to the under. 9-11, 9-12 on the card. It is the Red Sox. They are going to be on the road against the Toronto Blue Jays as Peyton Tolley looks to have the Blue Jays paying the Tolley here, and you've got Matt Scherzer on the bump for Toronto. Toronto does find themselves as an underdog between plus 135 to a plus 145, minus 153 to a minus 167. That's your number on Boston. 8 is the total. The under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. And with the Red Sox, I did set them here at a minus 158, so I'm going to be willing to take a shot on them on the money line. I just still don't believe in Max Scherzer. The last 2 starts have been significantly better for him, so maybe he is rounding into a little bit of better form. I still need to see a little bit more. He's over 40 years old, and for Scherzer, you just take a look at the season numbers, and it doesn't get washed away by 2 good starts, in my opinion. He's got a 689 fielding dependent with 2.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, 3.8 walks, 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and this is a Red Sox team that has been a top 10 team in terms of run creation when they have been away from home. For the Red Sox, they actually average more runs per game when they're away from Fenway rather than at home, with Wilson Contreras and Wilder Abreu really being able to muscle up. Abreu's up to 21 home runs. He's hitting for about a 330 or so on base. Contreras over a 375 on base with his 23 bombs. Now you're getting back Adley Rutschman. That'll be helping. Ceddanne Rafaela, Jarren Duran, 16 home runs apiece. Now Duran's not reaching base whatsoever, but Masataka Yoshida is, and for the Blue Jays, this continues to be a bottom 5 team in terms of run creation. Kazuma Okamoto was the lone guy in the starting lineup yesterday with a double-figure amount of homers. Really, outside of Okamoto, the lone guy with 12-plus home runs is George Springer, and he's been in and out of the fold. Flagger Jr. just continuing to have a miserable season. Alejandro Kirk, both hitting about a 261 without a lot of power. Nice Sanchez, he's been able to about a 270, and they're looking for a little bit of upside out of Brett Bateman. He's been solid in a small sample size, but you need to see a little bit more there. Blue Jays have been a top 12 team team in terms of bullpen ERA. Your main two guys have been Louis Varland along with Tyler Rogers. Both of these guys a sub 250 ERA. Spencer Miles is a good long guy, and we have been seeing Mason Flaherty round into a little bit of better form as well, and they're going to be kicking the tires here on Paul Sewald, so we'll see how that goes. I don't think that that's anything great. And for the Red Sox, for much of the season, they have been number one in terms of bullpen ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been absolutely amazing for this team, and additionally, you've got these guys like Giovanni Morin, Garrett Whitlock, Justin Slayton, who have been relatively solid in the bullpen. Everyone other than Slayton have a sub 3 ERA. Slayton should be able to round into better form. I like Eric Miller as well, so I do think that this is a good spot here for the Red Sox, especially with the guy in Peyton Tolliu. He's been very reliable thus far this season. He's not given up a whole bunch of hard contact. Right now, he's been supplying about a 3.20 ERA, 1.1 home runs, 2.4 walks per 9 innings, and he's up to 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, having gotten at least 7 punch-outs in each out of his last 5 starts. Do like the over because I think that the Red Sox get to Scherzer, so I told it at 8.7, and for the Red Sox, set them at a minus 158 in on their money line, 9.13, 9.14 on the card. It's the Rangers are going to be on the road against the Angels. It's Guadalupe Yarena is on the bump for the Alos, and Jacob deGrom is on the bump for the Rangers. Right now, this is pretty much off the board. The only number that I'm seeing at Kalshi, and I don't even have a total on this game, minus 144 on the Rangers, plus 138 on the LA Angels. And for the Rangers, I did set them here at a minus 143. So minus 142 or better, going to be looking at the Rangers. If I can get a plus 145 or better, it's going to be a shot on the Angels. And with regards to the total, 8 or less in on the over, and 8.5 or higher to the under. With Wellberry Urania, I actually really like what I've seen out of him. He's got a sub 3 ERA. The one issue that you've got with him, he always leaves himself prone to getting knocked out of a start very early because he has been giving up a lot of walks. His walks per 9 rate is well above a 4, so that's something that you do have to have a little bit of trepidation with. Like in his last start against the Miami Marlins, he only went 2 1/3 innings, so he does leave himself prone to not giving a lot of length. And for Jacob deGrom, as good as he has been throughout his career, and as much as the swing and miss stuff is still very much there for Jacob deGrom, he's been able to, in terms of strikeouts per 9 innings, post up 10.9 with only about 2.3 walks per 9. He has been giving up the 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, so that's a little bit of an issue. 5+ runs allowed in 2 out of his last 4 starts. Now for the Angels, they entered into yesterday averaging about 2.5 runs per game since the All-Star break. Just absolutely atrocious there. I have to believe there's a little bit of positivity doing for the Angels. Like, I'm not saying that it's going to be a ton of positivity with this Angels lineup, but there should be some positivity with it. You still have Mike Trout and Zach Neto, 20 home runs apiece, and in the case of Trout, even though he's hitting like a 235, the on-base percentage is above 370, but I mean, past that, nobody else in the starting lineup yesterday was having more than 8 home runs. Josh Lowe, it's been very low for him, hitting right around about a 200. Moises Ballesteros has been a issue. Densar Guzman has not given you too much. Wade Meckler, it's a 300, but you need a little bit more out of the other guys other than he and Nolan Schunel. And then on the flip side for the Walker Texas Rangers, you've had good production out of Jock Peterson, who's been able to give you 22 home runs. His on-base percentage is hovering more in that neighborhood, about a 350. You don't call his name, Alejandro Ozuna, about a 350 on base out of him. And then you got Ezekiel Duran, who's hitting at 270. Nicky Lopez, who's hitting at 280. So been able to have these guys move the line. Corey Seager is back in the fold as well. It's been a miserable season for him, but I do think that he rounds into form. For the Rangers, they have been a bottom 10 team in terms of bullpen ERA since June 1st. You've had the Jacobs, Jacob Junis, Jacob Latz, who both been able to give you a sub 3 ERA, but you've got Junis, who's right now dealing with a little bit of an injury, I believe, so a bit of an issue. Additionally, they've been dealing with the injury to Jalen Beeks recently as well. It looks like he might just be out for the season. Robbie Alstrom, though, he's been able to give you a sub 4 ERA. He's been relatively solid. These other mix and match guys like Cole Winn and company are going to need a little bit more there. And for the Angels, they've actually been a league average team in terms of their bullpen ever since June 1st, ever since they got rid of really guy that was so bad in Alek Manoah that it's not even funny. They do trade away Ryan Zefrian at the trade deadline as well, but Jose Fermin, a sub 350 ERA, even without Kirby Yates, I mean, they still have been able to have some of these guys be able to step up, give you some good innings. It does appear as though Taylor Cicado might be able to give you some good innings moving forward. They get back Ben Joyce. I don't know if he's ever quite going to be the fireballer that he was pre-injury, but still, he and Sammy Natera have been pretty solid in this bullpen as well. So it leads to an interesting circumstance. Minus 142 or better, looking at the Rangers, plus 144 or better, the Angels, and then 8 or less, like the over 8.5 or higher, the under. 9:15, 9:16 on the card. It is the Reds. Yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're under the road facing off against the White Sox, as Abe Martin is going to be on the bump for the White Sox, and Andrew Abbott, he goes for the Reds, and the Reds, they're on to being an underdog here, as you're going to be catching with them anywhere between a plus 113 to a plus 120, minus 130 to minus 140. That number on the Southsiders, 8 is the total. Over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Seeing straight 8.5. Under is minus 120. The over is even money, and I do like the over. I set my total at 8.6. I just feel like Andrew Abbott has been really lucky here over the last few weeks. As for Abbott, he's been able to give up 300 runs or fewer in pretty much all but 2 out of his last 17 starts, and I'm not quite sure how. He's getting 6.9 strikeouts and 4.3 walks per 9 innings. He's got a 3.92 ERA with a 4.68 fielding independence. Really not knocking my socks off there. We'll say his ERA actually does go down below a 3 when he's away from home, but I don't make too much out of those home and road splits. Additionally, for Davis Martin, he has been significantly better at home rather than away from home. 4.17 ERA overall for the season, but more of a 3.49 fielding independent, 0.7 home runs, 2.8 walks per 9 innings, and then when he's bad at home, 0.3 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he is posting up a 2.83 ERA. That ERA goes above a 5 when he is away from home, so you've had some pretty dramatic splits there. And for the Chicago White Sox, since June 1st, this has been one of the better bullpens in all of baseball. They've been a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Likes of A. Grant Taylor, Sean Newcomb have been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. They pick up Oscar Brisbane. I thought that was a really nice pickup for them as well, and you've been able to have some of these more mix and match guys like a Trevor Richards, who's a bit more of a long guy. He's been able to do a solid job in terms of holding it on the fort for the team, and Jordan Hicks is actually giving you something, so yay verily there. And the White Sox offense, much better than that of the Reds. The Reds, they are a bottom 8 team in terms of run creation. For the White Sox, they're in the top 10, even though Colson Montgomery doesn't give you any sort of on-base whatsoever. He, Montaka Murakami, along with Miguel Vargas, have all been able to supply at least 24 home runs as far this season. Murakami only hitting about a 237, but over a 350 on base. Sam Antonacci is moving the line. He's over a 360 on base. You've got Chase Meadroff give you a 350 on base. Tristan Peters finding way on. Really, other than the catcher spot, it's been pretty solid there. And then for the Reds, the bottom of the fold just has not been good. TJ Friedel, Matt McClain throw in there as well, and Eugenio Suarez, even though he's not necessarily he's towards the bottom of the fold. Hector Rodriguez, so many guys, they're hitting a 225 or lower. You do have Sal Stewart, who's up to 25 home runs, over 330 on base. And then Ellie De La Cruz, over 350 on base. He and JJ Bleday, 20 plus home runs. Bleday only hitting about a 223. Has been able to do a solid job in terms of getting on base, though. And then with the Reds, their bullpen has been just very shaky, to say the least. Bottom 10 in terms of ERA. TJ Antone, Brockenrollberg, these have been two guys that have been able to give you a sub 325 ERA, but then Sam Moll gives you a 4 ERA. Pierce Johnson, right around about a 450 ERA. These guys like Chase Petty that they've been trotting out there in long relief just have not been able to hold it down. So do think that the White Sox will get the job done here. 1 to lay up to minus 135 on that White Sox money line. I like the over, so I might tell it at 8.6. Wrap things up with the Field of Dreams game out there in Iowa. 9-17, 9-18, Phillies and Twins. Todd Juncal and Milton Bradley is on the bump for the Twins, and Aaron Nola hopes to be super for the Philadelphia Phillies. And for the Phillies, they're in a relatively pick'em game here between minus 105 to minus 110 on both sides. 8.5 is the total. Overs minus 120, and the unders even. And I'm in on the over. I set my total at a 9.6. I do believe that this is going to be a little bit more of a hitter's ballpark. I think that they have the similar ballpark dimensions, if I'm not mistaken, of the old Detroit Tigers Park many, many years ago. I could be mistaken there, but we have seen 2 Field of Dreams games. So this is going to be the first one since 2022. One was a 9-8 thriller with the White Sox taking down the Yankees, and then it was Cubs over Reds 4-2, and that was a game that I thought had a lot of scoring early and then just died into oblivion. So it's a very, very, very small sample size, but I just don't trust in Aaron Nola. 2.1 home runs, 3.1 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's posting up an ERA well above a 5, and he just has been pretty miserable this far this season. He's backed up by a bullpen that Jose Alvarado, Chase Jogert, these are two guys with over a 4.50 ERA. They put Caleb Killian on the interest. Love what Yohan Duran is able to provide. Sometimes has a slight hiccup, but overall he's been able to do a solid job. And then I did think that the pickup of Brooks Raley was solid as well, but still, it's a bullpen that you have to have a bit of trepidation with. Phillies have actually been last in the National League in terms of run creation away from home, but so if Kyle Schwarber at 35 home runs, 370 on base. Bryce Harper, 25 home runs, 370 on base. Bryson Stott is starting to be able to iron things out as well. He's hitting for about a 340 on base. Trey Turner down for what? He's been able to give you 15 plus home runs along with Brandon Marsh. So these guys have been solid. Still need a lot more out of Alec Boehm and JT Realmuto though. And then on the other end, the Minnesota Twins, they're averaging 4.8 runs per game away from home. That is actually number 1 in the American League. And I recognize that they've been dealing with the injury to Byron Buxton. That's a little bit of an issue, but so Brooks Lee with 15 plus home home runs. Cody Clemens has been able to provide 19 to 20 home runs. Not a lot of on-base out of either of those guys, but Lucas Shaw gives you about a 360 on-base. You've had Trevor Larnach be able to provide about a 355 on-base along with Austin Martin. So these have been guys that have been relatively solid for the Twins. They really revamped that bullpen at the trade deadline, still in the bottom 10 overall for the season in terms of ERA. But now you've got A.J. Minter, Jeff Hoffman, pair of guys with a sub-4 ERA. Andrew Morris has been a guy that's been able to give you some good innings along with Andres Gomez in a Twins uniform. Both of these guys have been able to give you a sub-325 ERA. Taylor Rogers, Anthony Banda, the washed-up veterans have not necessarily been great. And for Taj Bradley, he has been able to supply about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. Have to have a little bit of issue with the over 3.5 walks per 9, 376 ERA. Fielding dependent is relatively in line with that. And for Bradley, his ERA does go up to a 4.26 when he's away from him. And on the road has been giving up about 1.3 to 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. So I think they get higher scoring games. Up by total 9.6. Twins should be batting last year if I have it correct there. And I'm in on the Twins. I set them at a minus 138. And that'll wrap things up for the Thursday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to our guy, Jon Jansen of Fox Sports Philadelphia, The Gambler, for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, do have one or two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. Other ways, find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it's very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. And I'm with you guys every single day to get you guys picks and analysis on every game, every day. So I'll be with you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much.